Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. I got a couple comments that pointed me to a story that came out today. I'm recording this on Friday night. That had to do with 144 new mission leaders that were called. And so that caught my attention. I looked into that. I came across another story. There were some stake presidencies that were reorganized, and I have some stuff from that I want to share with you. And then after that, there's some news with the renovations at Temple Square, and I want to go over that with you as well. So before we do, here's the update on the Flood the Earth Challenge. We're at 7,637 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared, and we're trying to get to 10,000. So we're making really good progress. And then there's 833 people that have joined the challenge. We're trying to get to 1,000. So keep it up. I would encourage you to do so if you haven't already. Just share a Book of Mormon and then let me know in the comments or send me an email of how many you shared and how you did it, like what method, mail, text, email, social media. And then make sure to include #flood. Okay. So I saw this comment. This is from the Haystack. And by the way, he has his own channel. I'll put the link for his channel in the description below. So make sure to check out his content and subscribe. He said, Jared, Church News just published that 144 new mission leaders have been called across the globe. Check it out. And then right before his email, there was a comment from Lisa Oswald. And she said, would the church just calling 144 new mission leaders across the globe have anything to do with the 144,000? Maybe, I'm reaching. And then she put a laughing face emoji. And yeah, I probably wouldn't take that. I wouldn't put too much stock into that. The reason why, this is just my own opinion, but I would encourage you to watch my playlist called The 144,000. There's 4 episodes where we cover a lot of interesting things. There was one thing in particular that was really interesting that Joseph Smith said, and that's in episode 2. So make sure to watch that playlist. I think it pretty thoroughly covers the subject of the 144,000. But even though I don't think it necessarily has to do with them, there could be something to this. I don't know. It doesn't hurt to stop and think about it and just take note of it, because maybe in the future something else will come up and we'll be like, whoa, well, that was the beginning, or who knows? Let's just, take note of it. And so I went through the article. New mission presidents and companions called to serve beginning in 2024. And here's a breakdown of the different regions of the world and how many each region is getting. Okay. The first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is called New Mission Leaders for 144 missions worldwide. These couples will begin their 3-year service in July. 4 couples will be announced later. The church earlier announced that 36 new missions will begin operating this summer. With the additions, the church will have 450 missions worldwide, its highest ever total. Now, that's really interesting, right? The most missions that we've ever had. I put together a spreadsheet to track the number of missionaries through the years. And from what I can see and tell, there's basically been 2 big surges. One was in like 2013, 2014, because that's right after President Monson lowered the mission age. So there was a big surge, okay? And then it started going back down. And then when it got to the pandemic, it really went down. But now it's starting to rebound. And for 2023, the last that I checked, the church said that it had over 72,000 missionaries. Okay. So that's interesting to think. Back when we had the highest number of missionaries, back in 2014, when we had 85,000, we didn't have as many missions as we have now. I can only assume that that's because the church, President Nelson, the people that study these things and report to the first presidency, they must think that we're going to get up maybe back to this number of 85,000, maybe more. And so it warrants more missions to be created. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's pretty logical. I guess we'll have to wait and see how things actually play out. But it's a really interesting time and a very exciting time for missionary work. The reason why I feel like the context of all this is this column right here, rising generation. So this phrase, if you're new to the channel, what I've done using the scripture citation index where you can search general conference talks, you can search it for words and phrases. I tallied up the number of general conference talks that use the phrase rising generation. And what you'll notice when you go back in time, like as I scroll down, you see that phrase used less and less and less and less, okay? Going all the way back to 1942. So something interesting happens starting in 2006, and that is that phrase gets brought up every single year, and much more than in the past. And it probably has to do with the lowering of the mission age and just the foresight that the prophets have, knowing where the work is headed. And, they were talking about this before the lowering of the mission age, but obviously with big decisions like that, you put some thought into it and maybe some research before you do something like that. So I'm sure that in these years, 2009, 2010, they were probably already thinking about lowering the mission age and maybe doing some other things. I don't know. But whatever the case, we have just like a solid block right here starting in 2006 all the way until present. Okay. And then President Nelson becomes president of the church. He introduces the concept of the Lord's Youth Battalion in his 2018 Hope of Israel worldwide youth devotional. That's the first time that we hear of the Lord's Youth Battalion, and he's serious about it. We've talked about it in a lot of other videos. Okay. And interestingly, it's during his presidency that you have this big hit to missionary work. And I don't think that's any accident. I think it's the adversary, and he knows that time is running out and we're in this final phase. President Nelson has said that we're in the final phase. He said that we're in the last half of the ninth inning. That was in his recorded message for FSY for the year 2022. It's on one of my spreadsheets where I have quotes. I think it's on my quotes second coming spreadsheet. Okay, so anyway, the pandemic pretty much came to an end, or it became very minimal. And in April 2022, that's when President Nelson made essentially a special request for more missionaries. And many other general authorities during that same general conference were talking about the importance of missionary work and people going on missions. And so as a result of that, and this is according to Church News, they interviewed Elder Cook. I think it was him that said that they credit it to President Nelson's call for more missionaries, and there's been a response. And now in 2023, we're up to over 72,000. There's also the second edition of Preach My Gospel that came out. So it's a very exciting time. And now, to add on top of that, we have this news of 144 new mission presidents and the highest ever total of missions at 450. And then we covered this story where there were the 36 new missions that were announced. And here's a map that shows all the different locations, and it has the details later on if you want to check that out. I put the links for all these articles in the description box in case you ever want to verify it or look into it further. Okay, so exciting stuff when it comes to missionary work. 144, very, very interesting number. And then I just happened to see, as I was scrolling down, and this was by accident, that there was a December 31st article, December 31st, 2023, called Read About These 18 New Stake Presidents from Thailand to Scotland. And I was like, what? And the reason why is because I had made a spreadsheet maybe like a couple months ago. Like in around October, November, where somebody had come across one of these articles, and he was looking through it and looking at the ages of the people in these stake presidencies. And he was pointing out that there were a lot of people that were in their 30s that were being called to the stake presidency. And there were even a few that were, excuse me, in their 20s. And that seemed kind of weird. It seemed weird to me, but I didn't want to just like look at that and be like, wow, that's weird. I wanted to see if we could quantify it and see if this is out of the ordinary. So far, I've been able to go back to 2019. I haven't found anything past that. I'm sure I probably could if I looked harder. But I went back to 2019, and what you have to do is you have to do a ratio. Okay, if you're going to compare year to year, because each year there's a different number of stake presidencies that are reorganized. So in 2019 it was 31. In 2020 it was 39. In 2021 it was 38. Okay, and by the way, as far as I can tell, it seems like they only put this out, or they make these changes like once a year. Because like I said, I tried to search as best as I could, and it seemed like there was only one article per year. Now, I don't know if it's more than that. In the case of 2023, it was. There was an article put out in October where there were 59 stake presidencies that were reorganized. And then this one that we're talking about right now, just 2 months later, where there's 18. So I don't know, but it seems like it's just once a year. And so what you have to do is you come up with a ratio of 30-year-olds to the total number of stake presidencies that are being changed. So in the case of 2019, there were 30, I'm sorry about the coughing. There were 31 stake presidencies that were being changed. You divide that by the 21 30-year-olds and you come up with a ratio, and the ratio is 0.68. So if you were to divide it up evenly, you would get 0.68 30-year-olds per stake. Okay. And then for that year, there was just one 20-year-old. So if you divided him up, then about 3% of them would go to each stake. Okay. I know. Okay. So what I did, let's go back to the article. What I did is I went through here, highlighted the people that were 33, because it'll show you the stake president and then his first counselor. In this case, the Bangkok, Thailand West stake. The first counselor is Suthi Sirafan, 33. And then second counselor, Atasit Salawasi, 33. Okay. And so went through here, counted them all up. There were a couple 20-year-olds as well. And I put it on the spreadsheet, did the ratios, and this is how it goes. In 2019, before today, that was the highest ratio for 30-year-olds. That was the highest at 0.68. And then for the next few years, it dipped down into the 40s. But then it came back up in, as of the October 2023 article to 0.64, but it still wasn't as high as 2019. But then this one just came out, and it's at 0.8. It's at 0.89. So this most recent change had the highest number of, by ratio, of 30-year-olds compared to all these previous years. So I thought that was kind of weird. And the same held true for the 20-year-olds. For this batch right here, it was 0.111 compared to, these ones, 0.018, 0.017, 0.075, and so forth. Now it is like a smaller number. So if it was like if there was more stake presidencies that were being changed, maybe these ratios would change and be more normal looking. I don't know, but that's what I have. And I don't know if this has to do with just a growing church and we need more hands on deck or something like that. There's more young people maybe in some areas than there are older people. I have no idea. I don't know. Put what you think in the comments below. I have no idea. But it is interesting. So every time there's an update, I'll update my spreadsheet. If you find any other ones that are not on here, then feel free to email me, and then I'll get this updated, and we'll do this again. So that's interesting. Okay, now I got a text from Mindy from Temples of Jesus channel. She's a friend of mine. We've interviewed each other a couple times. Here's her channel. I'll put the link for it in the description below so you can subscribe and check out her content. She's really good. She sent me a text telling me about changes at Temple Square, or not so much changes, but the completion of certain areas when it comes to the renovation. So I'm looking at Deseret, excuse me. I'm looking at Deseret News. The Church of Jesus Christ announces what will reopen on Temple Square this winter. Okay, that's exciting. So there's certain portions that are going to reopen that had previously been closed. As Temple Square undergoes construction, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has announced that several plazas on Temple Square will reopen. In a press release sent to the Deseret News, the Church of Jesus Christ announced the reopenings of the plazas as well as an update on the Lion House and Beehive House renovations. So we're going to just take this one by one. Okay, so because I know, put in the comments, have you been to Temple Square in Salt Lake City? Let me know if you have. Let me know if you haven't. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Temple Square. I used to live in Utah. In fact, I didn't live too far away from Temple Square. When I was going to college, I actually lived in this neighborhood immediately to the east, referred to as the Avenues, and I was only a few blocks away. So we actually walked to Temple Square quite a bit when we lived in that area. Okay, so here's Temple Square, right? So we just talked about the Beehive House and the Lion House. So they are right. Okay, so look, you have these two blocks. The block that has the Salt Lake Temple and the Tabernacle, and then the block to the east has the church office building, the administration building, the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, and then on this side of the administration building, you have the Beehive House and the Lion House. And I'll go to Street View so you can see it a little bit better. At first, I was looking at this building right here. I was like, what is that? I don't remember this building. And it's because the 3D rendering doesn't really depict it the right way, at least not the front part, as you're about to see when we go to Street View. So you go to Street View. Okay. Right here, this is the Beehive House. You can tell because it has a beehive at the very top of it. And then the Lion House, what do you expect there to be there? There's a lion right there. Okay. So I didn't know, I guess it doesn't surprise me, but I didn't know that these were being renovated, but they are. And what are they? I'll tell you. Okay. So the Lion House. The Lion House was the family home of Brigham Young, the first governor of Utah and second president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was constructed in 1856 and gets its name from the large stone lion statue situated above the front entrance, which was sculpted by William F. Ward. The three-story building is in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, and it sits near the corner of State Street and South Temple. And the reason why it's so big, when we were looking at the 3D view, is because, like the Beehive House next door, the architect of the Lion House was Truman Angell. The house had 26 bedrooms to accommodate Brigham Young's large family. Brigham Young was perhaps the best known of the Latter-day Saints who practiced plural marriage in the early church. His family included 55 wives and 56 children. Oh my, 56 children. An official manifesto in 1890 led to the end of the practice of plural marriage in the church. And then it goes on. So that's the Lion House. And then the Beehive House, which is just east of that. The Beehive House was the official residence of three presidents of the church: Brigham Young, Lorenzo Snow, and Joseph F. Smith. The three-story home is located in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, at the intersection of State Street and South Temple. Brigham Young was also governor of the Utah Territory, and the Beehive House was also used to receive and entertain visitors to the territory. The home has been restored to its 19th century appearance and is open for tours. Okay, so these two houses apparently are also part of the renovation, which I didn't know before. There is there's a restaurant. Isn't there like a restaurant, kind of like restaurant cafe in the Lion House? I know that, huh? Oh, Jenica says yes. I know I've been there a couple times. It's just my memory is a little bit fuzzy. I remember going there for my uncle's wedding reception. They had it here at the Lion House. Okay, so let's get back to the article. The plazas. Okay, now look at this. The plazas by the church office building. So that's one. The north section of Main Street Plaza. That's two. And the northwest plaza of Temple Square will reopen on January 6th. And that's actually for you guys today. I'm recording this on Friday, but it's on Saturday, January 6th, that it's going to reopen. And so what are those areas? Let's look at this graphic that was provided by the church. So, sorry, you have the northwest part of Temple Square right here. This is where you used to have the North Visitor Center that had the Christus. So this part is now opening. And lucky for you guys who live there that can go and check this out. For me, it's kind of surreal to think that the North Visitor Center is not going to be there anymore. And then you have the north part of the Main Street Plaza. This used to be Main Street, but the church bought this land and turned it into a plaza a long time ago. And when I say a long time ago, I mean like when I was a teenager, sometime like in the late 90s or early 2000s, something like that. So this part of the Main Street Plaza is going to reopen, and then the church office building plaza over here. Another way to look at that, let's exit Street View. And man, I can't wait till they update the Google Earth, but this whole area right here, which there used to be an amazing fountain that I really loved, but that's not part of it anymore. But you have the old depiction of the fountain, but now it's something new. So this, and then this right here, and then this. And you can see, excuse me, on my Google Earth, it's still showing the North Visitor Center. That's what the North Visitor Center used to look like. And when you're walking outside, you could see through these windows and look up to the Christus, which is right underneath this dome. But this is no longer here. It's now a different area. We're going to read more about that in just a minute. Okay. And then, well, we haven't read that yet. By mid-February, the south side of Main Street Plaza will reopen. Okay. So as of tomorrow, it's going to be this. All the places that are not red will be areas that are fully open and accessible to the public. And then in mid-February, all of the Main Street Plaza is going to be open. Okay. So that's what's going on. Excuse me. The Assembly Hall is expected to undergo renovations. That's also something that I didn't know. The Assembly Hall is in the southwest corner of Temple Square. You can see it right here. It's a really beautiful building. I've always enjoyed it. I've been in it many times. And in case you don't know what it is, what my favorite part about it, and probably a lot of people feel the same way, is that you have these windows right here, these circular like stained glass windows that have the Star of David inside. I've always thought that was really cool. The Assembly Hall on Temple Square is a Gothic Revival style building finished in 1882. It was built as place of worship for local Latter-day Saint congregations in Salt Lake City, Utah. The historic building is located on the southwest corner of Temple Square. It was built using stone from the same quarry as the Salt Lake Temple. And then when you read through this, it just goes on to talk about how there's all sorts of things that have taken place there. State conferences and different meetings, and then they have concerts and stuff inside. And so it's almost like it's kind of like a multi-purpose building, but I guess that's going to be renovated as well. So it seems that like virtually everything has been renovated, except for, I guess, I'm not sure. Well, I don't know. On this map, when you go over here, it says that the Joseph Smith Memorial Building is like under construction or off limits or partially off limits. Do you guys know, you that are in Utah, do you know if that's being renovated too, the Joseph Smith Memorial Building? And then I don't think I've heard anything about like the church office building itself or the administration building or the the Relief Society building. Yeah, the Relief Society building. So I don't think anything's happened with those buildings. But if you know different, then let me know. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do, and up until now, I haven't really researched this. We were just talking about the North Visitor Center. And when you look at this rendering of what it's supposed to look like when it's all said and done, you'll notice that, okay, so like I said, right here where my mouse is, to the north of the tabernacle, this is where the North Visitor Center used to be. It's been torn down. When you go east, you see these two buildings just directly north of the Salt Lake Temple. And likewise, on the south, there are two kind of like corresponding buildings where this used to be the South Visitor Center. So the North Visitor Center was over here on the opposite side of the South Visitor Center, which was in the southeast part of Temple Square. So kind of a dramatic change, because instead of one building in the south, you have two. And then north of the temple, you have these two buildings. And I wanted to know just like, what exactly are they going to be? What are they going to be used for? And I found out. Okay, so first, here's what I was talking about before. Here's what the North Visitor Center used to look like. And you can clearly see the Christus, which I think that this was just amazing. I'm kind of sad that they changed this up, but it's okay. It says the area will be replaced with open gardens and space for contemplation by 2023. Well, as it turns out, early 2024. Quote, "This area will become a peaceful, quiet space on Temple Square," said Andy Kirby, director of historic temple renovations for the church. And then he continues, "The plans for this area will also provide a more direct and clear view of the Salt Lake Temple from the northwest area of Temple Square, enhancing the prominence of the temple." So I guess that's what the rationale is. Well, I mean, I don't know, like, it seems like you already had a pretty clear view. And that's what I remember, except for like trees and stuff like that. But I guess it's more open now, and I don't know, whatever. So the temple is more, I guess by removing that, the central focus. You can see it was a pretty sizable building. So maybe that's part of what he's talking about. Okay. So from there, let's look at this article, revisiting 2022's highlights so far of Salt Lake Temple and Salt Lake Square renovation project. Okay. The decommission of the temple excluded the removal of furniture, lights, and carpet inside, while outside demolition of the old temple annex prepared for the massive 65-foot deep excavation on the temple's north side for the new 3-story addition. So what that's talking about is this. This building right here was the temple annex. And so now this is gone. And this area right here, the entrance to the temple, or at least it used to be that if you were going there for baptisms of the dead, there was a time where there was like an entrance over here when you were on Temple Square on the west side of the temple. There was like this wall right here. And then there was a like just this kind of like nondescript door. And I remember going through that door at least a couple times. I don't think it was always like that, because I also remember going through the main entrance over here to do baptisms for the dead. I believe, I'm pretty sure. It was a long time ago. But anyway, The article is talking about this being removed, destroyed, whatever, and digging down underneath there for a massive 65-foot deep excavation. And the reason why is because what's going there instead are these two buildings. You have these two buildings. Okay. Let's continue. The 2022 highlights have included preparing for and beginning new construction for the North Annex, the new guest building and pavilions, which that's what's in the south. They're calling it a guest building and pavilions. And the jack and bore process used in strengthening of the temple foundation and seismic upgrades. Okay, so we'll skip jack and bore. Okay, excavation north of the temple for the addition on that side went 30 feet beyond the depth of the since removed old annex. So it's going deeper, 30 feet deeper than the old annex, with the excavation on other sides of the temple to help further stabilize efforts. The new addition will house, now look at this. This is what they're going to have in them. They're going to have, so we're talking about, okay, sorry, let's go back to this. We're talking about these, okay, is that as far as you can zoom in? We're talking about these buildings right here. They're going 30 feet deeper than the old annex, and they're going to house, the new addition will house baptistries, sealing rooms, dressing rooms, administrative offices, and more. So basically, I'm thinking that since you don't have it doesn't seem like you're going to have the original entrance to the temple. It seems like that part's been taken down too and was part of the annex. It seems like what you're going to have instead, here, let's zoom out, is you're going to have this. I don't know if both of them will act as an entrance to the temple, but you have one on either side, and then you can come through this way to the temple, where you couldn't before. Before, the entrance to Temple Square, in fact, let's just look at sorry, it was getting laggy. So before, and I guess you can't really see it now, but the entrance was actually like through here to go on to Temple Square. Okay. West of the temple and just like right down the middle of Temple Square. But with these new north buildings, there's going to be, I guess, another entrance right there that goes in between them. And when you're walking through that entrance, you have this view of the temple if you're coming from the north side. So this is the side of the conference center, the north side. Okay. So that's new, like how you have this entrance right here. You see the temple, and then I suppose you'd go into one of these buildings, which would go underground. And then once you're underground, here's another view. So here's like the side of the building. I guess maybe you'd go through there. You'd go underground, which would bring you to the recommend desk. And this is what you would see, this skylight. And you can see it right here. You see that? This is the skylight. And you can also see it over here. Let's zoom in again. So you'd go through here, go into one of these buildings, go downstairs to the recommend desk, and then as you're walking toward the recommend desk, you would see the skylight with the Salt Lake Temple towering just outside. So that's really neat. And let's see, there's also this kind of cross section here that you can see, and you can see the building up top, and then there's like 2 floors below it. And it seems to me that the recommend desk would be on this like first floor below ground level. And then you would go from there and then up into the temple like that. Okay. So the Salt Lake Temple will be connected to these 2 buildings on the north, but not the ones on the south where the old South Visitor Center used to be. And here's a picture here's like a view from the south. So again, just like on the north side, there used to just be wall right here. Okay. And excuse me, there was the South Visitor Center. Let me exit out of Street View, zoom out. Sorry, it's getting really laggy. So here is the 3D rendering of the South Visitor Center, which went across that entire area. And just like the north side, there was just this one entrance on the south in the center. Okay. But in this case, no, just like on the north side, you can come in this way. And as you walk in this way, the temple is like the main focus. And then you can go into either one of these buildings. And let's read about that really quick. Not there. Okay, South, North's visitor centers. Okay, South, that's kind of strangely worded. South, North visitors centers. Okay. Gone are the visitors centers on either side of Temple Square proper, as 2022 saw demolition and removal of the North Center and the completion of the demolition and excavation of its south counterpart. And not only gone are the structures themselves, but the visitors centers labels as well. So they're not visitor centers anymore. The excavation recently completed on the South Center. Okay, wait, sorry. With excavation recently completed on the South Center, crews are beginning to erect the new multi-level guest building and above-ground pavilions planned there. Together, they will provide visitors with an experience to help understand Heavenly Father's plan of happiness, the role of the Savior Jesus Christ in that plan, the purposes of temples to unite families for eternity, and the importance of families as society's foundation. So they will act essentially as what the new visitor centers, but they're not called visitor centers anymore. Offering direct, unobstructed views of the temple from its south side, the pavilions will be connected by the guest building's large underground exhibit and rooms. So it sounds like, okay, let's move up here. So here's the two pavilions or guest buildings, I think was the other way that they were calling this. So these two will be connected underground with exhibits. So I guess you have like the two top entrances, the two buildings up top, and there's two of them so that when you come in, you can see right through here directly to the south side of the temple. And then you can go in and then go down and go to the other building and come back up. So that's kind of neat. The lower level will feature an ongoing temple open house experience. Now this sounds interesting, including replicas of sacred ordinance rooms found in the temple, such as a baptismal font and instruction, sealing, and celestial rooms. This is news to me, and I don't think I've seen this in any other place. It sounds like they're going to have, just like it says, replica rooms of the temple. Celestial, sealing, instruction, and baptismal font. And it doesn't really say, but I'm assuming that they're going to be like full size, or maybe they'll be scaled down a little bit, because like for the celestial room, that'd be pretty large. But that would be really, really cool. I wonder if they are planning on doing that with any other temples in the future. The upper level will house a statue of Jesus Christ and an updated cutaway scale model of the Salt Lake Temple. So this has been around for a long time, and I think multiple temples have it, where they have this model where you can see like a cross section of the temple, and it's really cool. I wish that I had one of these in my house. I like stuff like this. Look at that. It's so cool. And they went into so much detail, but now I guess they're going to be taking actual size rooms and doing replicas of them in the bottom part. So neat. Okay. In the space where the North Center stood, new restroom facilities there will be used for those attending events at the nearby Tabernacle and Assembly Hall. A newly designed contemplative garden area and landscaping is being installed, with a new water well drilled there as well. And that's what's going to open tomorrow, or for you today. Let's go back to this. Where is it? Right here. So new bathrooms. So I guess maybe this building right here, this will be the bathrooms, and then the garden. And what did it say? A drilled, how did it word it? With a new water well drilled there as well. That was very nicely worded. I like that. So I guess this right here would be the water well that it's talking about. I don't know. So, hey, feel free if you go check this out tomorrow or over the weekend or whatever, and you take pictures, send them my way, and I'll share them in a future video. I'd like to see some photos of this area and anything else that you'd like to take pictures of. So this is pretty exciting. I hope that I'm able to come and see this at some point. I'd probably wait until, because I really want to see those replica rooms. That sounds amazing that they're doing that. Yeah, I'd probably wait until this is all completed. But oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Let's go back to, actually two more things I want to mention. Let's go back to this article by Deseret News. At the plaza near the church office building, there are 92 flagpoles. Later, at an unspecified date, the flags will be raised to symbolize, quote, the global nature of the church and its commitment to be a friend to all. Throughout the year, the church will fly all the flags of officially recognized United Nations countries. The flag oval begins at the plaza's northwest corner with the flag of the United States. From there, 91 additional flags will rotate every 3 months, the release said. The flags will be placed in alphabetical order according to the English name of the country and will always be illuminated. So, in case you didn't really follow that, there are 193 sovereign states that comprise the United Nations. 193 member states. So, since there's only 92 flagpoles, the United States flag will always be up, and then they'll rotate the rest of them throughout the year. But over the course of a year, all of them will fly in front of the church office building. So let's go back to this. And you can't see it too well. You kind of can, but here's the oval that it's talking about. Okay. And you can kind of see like the flagpoles right here. So there's 92 in this oval between the church office building and the administration building. This is where you have the offices of the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12. So between those two very important buildings, you're going to have the oval with all the flags. And it's saying that, let's see, what did it say? The northwest one? The northwest corner is the one for the United States, and that'll always be up. Oh, here's another depiction of it. Let's zoom in. Zoom in. So northwest would be right here. So the U.S. flag will always be right here, and then all the rest of these will rotate throughout the year. I think it said once every 3 months, right? And eventually, during the course of the year, all flags will end up flying there. Yeah, once it rotate every 3 months, and they'll be in alphabetical order, with the exception of the American flag. Drought-resistant plants and water-wise irrigation will replace the current landscape. The Church of Jesus Christ plans on also using historically appropriate plants. So that'll be interesting to see. And then we'll close on this. The temple is now expected to be completed in 2026. So this is the most recent word, 2026. So It's too bad. Originally, it was meant to be completed this year in 2024, but I guess we have to wait 2 more years. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.